guys, welcome back to Stop Crazy with Qwaci. It's Qwaci, of course. Hi. So today we're gonna do a little bit different. I'm gonna be doing a little travel crazy with Qwaci. As some of you guys know, we just came back from Puerto Rico. Me and my boyfriend went. It was his first time. It was my second time. Absolutely love Puerto Rico, and I'm definitely gonna be going back again. And things were a little bit different traveling this time to Puerto Rico, especially because it's the whole panoramic going on outside. So I just wanted to touch base, let you guys know what it's like traveling during COVID, the amazing deal that we got. Okay, for both of us it was a little under $800 for both of us for the flight and the hotel, so that means that was less than $400 per person. Okay, and also just a tour of the hotel, because it was like, our resort was amazing. We stayed at the Concha Resort, and I just wanted to give you guys a tour. So I have a quick little video, nothing too crazy, you know. So yeah, if you want to see all of that, then just stay tuned. All right, bet. So boom, let's start with the flight and the hotel deal. Okay, so one day I was on Twitter just minding my black ass business, and I saw somebody retweet something from Jetblue Vacations. They were having a buy one get one sale, right? So I click on it. I'm like, all right. This was like in August, like late August. I'm like, all right, bet. So see it. It was like options. Okay, there was to Mexico, there was to Jamaica, there was Puerto Rico, Aruba, Costa Rica, like St. Lucia. They had like almost everywhere that St. Thomas. They had everywhere that was open. Basically, they had deals on, and like they had all-inclusive deals. Like in Jamaica, they had for Rio, I think it was like $400. Like mad, like just like resorts that were all-inclusive were like dirt cheap, under $500. Some of them were under $400. Like that shit was so crazy to me. Like I couldn't believe it. But we decided to go somewhere new for him, and somewhere familiar for me. We went to Puerto Rico. Now for Puerto Rico, the Puerto Rico options for hotels, bro, crazy. Like they had the Intercontinental, they had the AC Hotel, they had the Hilton, they had just mad nice hotels. Like it wasn't all rinky dink like shit. Like it was like legit nice ass hotels. Like, and I'm like, you know what, I don't want to stay at the hotel that I stayed at before. I already know it's fire, but I want something new. So I decided on the La Concha hotel. Like that was my job, to figure out the hotel. Like for me, I'm very picky with where I stay. So it's like the shower gotta be fire, the bed gotta be fire, the floors have to be nice. I don't like carpet. Like if it's carpet, the carpet gotta look new, you know. So we finally decided, I'm like, all right, we're going to the Concha. When we finally got down to it, like when we went, we got the flight, like everything was one and the same. Like you don't have to go separate to book, like everything is there, the flight and the hotel option. So then they gave like a $50 credit, like depending on the hotel you were staying. You had to stay like a minimum 4 nights. We ended up staying 3 nights, so we didn't get the credit. But if you stayed 4 nights, you would get like $150 credit if you stayed at the Intercontinental. Like it was just like different like credits for different hotels, but either way you could get some money back, and like you could eat at the hotel, you could drink at the hotel, you know what I mean, for like the same money. Like it was just crazy. Anyways, so boom, we booked that ticket, and then we were like, all right, so JetBlue doesn't fly out of Ohio. We had to figure out like where we would fly out of. And now backtrack, New York and like all the major cities that they fly out of, the deals were the same. So we flew out of Fort Lauderdale because number one, the flights from Ohio to Fort Lauderdale are dirt cheap. So we're like, all right, bet we won't have to spend too much money, you know, to make this. We want a cheap trip, so we don't want to spend too much money. We look up tickets from here to Fort Lauderdale, and the ticket was $20, bro. You know, one of them little plane there, but you know, you just go for like a little quick trip. Like you're not really. We're not going to Paris. We just going to Florida. So it's like, all right, we're going to take the little plane for $20. So, but the catch was, the real catch here is that I really had to pack a carry-on. For 3 days, or for 4 days and 3 nights, that's a lot for me. Like, so I really had to like roll and tuck, okay? So, carry-on and personal item. And my personal item was a duffel. I put my shoes in there. Like I really packed strategically, and it was good. Like that's the best packing I ever did. Okay, everything fit. So whatever, we did Fort Lauderdale, and Deontay's uncle lives in Fort Lauderdale. So we're like, all right, we'll go from the day before, because since we're doing like a connecting but not connecting, we don't want like the timing to go off or whatever. So we were like, we'll go from the day before, stay at his house, stay there in Florida, and then go the next day at like 7 a.m. Cool, that worked out. Now come to the day that we're going, everything's fine, blah, blah, blah. We get to the airport, and we get to the, like, we're inside, about to board the plane, and the lady calls my name, or we go up there, she scans my passport or whatever I gave her, my ID, and she was like, oh, Miss Gregory, and I was like, yeah. Did I do something? I'm like, here it goes, this whole shit is a scam. And she's like, oh, we're upgrading you to first class, thanks for flying JetBlue vacation. We were like, oh, this shit starting off right. Like, okay, so great. Now we in first class, second row, bro. We get our name is on the shit. We're like, oh, it's lit. So great. So that's how we got the deals. So those are the deals. Now on to what it's like traveling during Corona. One, you had to wear a mask, okay? Now I was scared of Florida because Florida, we all know the numbers are crazy out there. So Florida was a little bit like, I'm not touching nothing. And I kept having to tell Deontay, like, don't touch shit. And I had like baby wipes. I bought baby wipes from the dollar store, and it was like Huggies. So don't try to play me. It was Huggies, it was good wipes. And then I put like cleaning product in there to make my own disinfectant wipes, and I was in that bitch. Well, I was in that shit. I was in that shit, like wiping down when we were in the airport, like wiping down the handles, and like, you know, like making sure like where we're gonna be is like clean, like our little area. We wasn't moving, we wasn't doing shit. Like it was just like, this is it, we're staying right here. So we had to wear a mask the entire time, the entire flight. I would like pull it to like breathe, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. And you had the whole row to yourself. Well, on JetBlue, you had the whole row to yourself. I think on the other flight, the local flight, the little $20 flight, we had the whole row to ourselves too, because we booked next to each other, so nobody booked the middle seat. But JetBlue, you had the whole flight to yourself, so the whole row to yourself. So that was cool. Like I still wiped it down. JetBlue gave you wipes, like they give you a little packet. I think there's a mask in there, and there's sanitizer, and there's disinfectant wipes, so you can do it. But the wipes is a little dry, like it's not like a little juicy wipe, you know what I mean? So I still use my own wipes. And then yeah, so the flight was cool. The flight wasn't too crazy, the flight wasn't too full. Like it was good, it was good. And JetBlue was amazing. Like let me just say that, like JetBlue, their customer service was amazing. Like when we were waiting for a flight, like a pilot came out for another flight. He came out and like greeted like everybody that was that was waiting in the waiting area for his flight. Like, oh, we're like reassuring them. So I thought that was so nice, you know? And then that just made me in good spirits for like my flight. So anyway, so now we're on to Puerto Rico. So now we get to Puerto Rico. So to travel to Puerto Rico, you have to have a negative COVID test within within 3 days of traveling. You have to have a negative COVID test. So I went to urgent care, and urgent care gives you the test like right away. So I went probably like the day before or something. So that was cool. And you have to upload it to like their travel site or whatever, like their tourist travel site. You have to upload it. And then when you get there, before you could even get out of the airport, like you have to show the test. Like there's somebody waiting by baggage claim, okay? You could either show the test, or if you don't have the test, you have to go take a test. But then I think you have to quarantine, and then what sense does that make? You know what I mean? So just get the test. Yeah, so that's the airport, and you still have to wear a mask. Like everybody there was wearing a mask, and there was sanitizer everywhere. When I say Puerto Rico had more sanitizer than America, or even though it's America, but you know what I mean? Like they had sanitizer everywhere, and it was like the touchless sanitizer. Like everybody had their mask on, everybody was sanitizing. Like I was impressed. Like I was just like, bro, they're not doing this in Ohio. I don't think they're even doing that in New York, you know what I mean? So, and they definitely wasn't doing that shit in Florida, I'll tell you that. So whatever. So now we take an Uber to the hotel. Now the hotel also wants to see that travel document, because you have to print it out. So the travel document that you upload, you also have to print it out. It like tells, it's like, you know, I don't have COVID, like, I swear I don't have COVID and here are my negative COVID test results, you know? So you also have to show that document that you presented at the airport to the hotel, at least at La Concha. I don't know about anybody else, but at La Concha, in order to get into the hotel, you have to show that negative test result and that travel declaration, I think is what it's called, to get it. There's a guy like literally at the door. He takes it, he uploads it, they take your picture, they take your temperature, you sanitize before you go into the hotel. Everybody's wearing masks. They give you masks, like if you need a mask, there's like a mask at the front that you could take before you get into the hotel. And what else? There's sanitizer everywhere in the hotel. Like I've never seen so much sanitizer things, and they're all touchless, which was the beauty of it, because I hate touching what everybody else touched to sanitize, you know what I mean? So you just put your hand under and boom, sanitize, you know what I mean? So that was cool. There was sanitizer in the elevators, there was sanitizer at the concierge desk, there was sanitizer just everywhere, you know what I mean? And you had to wear a mask. Like there was no exceptions, like they would ask you to take a mask. Now as far as like the island goes, and they weren't doing room service, because I had told them it was our anniversary and they were like, oh, usually we do something, but because of COVID we're not, you know, we're trying to limit going in and out of the room. All right, bet, cool. The only place you couldn't or you didn't have to wear a mask was like the beach area or the pool, but it was all like limited. Like it wasn't a lot of people, like surprisingly, and people were technically social distancing. I know I was social distancing, so like there was the pool and then I was over here by the cabana, you know what I mean? So it was cool, and like you kept sanitizing a lot, you kept washing your hands. Like I was conscious of doing that. So moving on to like the island itself and what it's like in the island. So on the island, at least like in San Juan, there was sanitizer everywhere, okay? So there was an island-wide curfew. Let's start with that. That started at 10 and you had to be home. Like Ubers weren't running after 10. The only way you could have an Uber is if you were going to or from the airport after 10. That's the only way you could call an Uber. Like you needed an Uber, you had to call that shit way before 10 o'clock. And it was 10 to 5 and they were very strict about that. And I get it, you know what I mean? And then for like restaurants and stuff, like they take your temperature. Like, bro, we on a hot ass island. I'm gonna be a little few degrees hotter, you know what I mean? But whatever. So they take your temperature. You have to sanitize before you go sit down. Of course they sanitize like the tables and stuff like that, whatever. Of course there's social distancing with the tables and stuff. And you had to wear a mask inside the restaurant. Like you only could take your mask off if you know, we're sitting down and eating, but once you get up, you have to put your mask on, and they'll ask you to put your mask on. And it's just like out of respect, you know, just put your mask on. But other than that, like it felt okay. Like it didn't feel super abnormal, and because of the type of trip that we wanted, like we just wanted to relax. So that after 10 o'clock thing, like 10 o'clock curfew did not bother us, because like, all right, we're gonna sleep, or we gonna chill in the room, or party in the room, or go take a walk on the beach. That's like, you find other things to do. But when you was hungry after 10, you gonna stay hungry. So I think that's pretty much like the sum of our trip. Like it was an amazing time. Like it wasn't like, we didn't feel super constricted. We didn't feel like, oh, it's limited. Now a lot of restaurants were like affected. Like, and I say restaurants because I really went there for one specific restaurant. Like that's like, this restaurant like was the reason I chose Puerto Rico, and they were closed, bro. I really wanted their mofongo. Like it's amazing. It's the best mofongo ever. And I didn't look it up before I went because I didn't want to be disappointed. And then when I got to the island, that was the first thing I looked up, and it said they were open. And then when we went there, it bigged up the sign on the door, we're closed permanently, because whatever. So I was disappointed about that. So I think a lot of businesses are affected by COVID there, just as here, but like I think it really hit down there. But it was still generally a good time, you know what I mean? So it didn't feel like constricted. So I think if you really want to go, you should go. Just really be like, you know, on top of your shit, and like sanitize, wash your hands, wear your mask, like social distance, be away from people. Like we didn't really meet nobody new, you know what I mean? But I think it was still a good time. Like, so I would recommend going. Now as for a resort, it was amazing. Literally did not feel like we could have stayed on the resort if we wanted to. We liked to venture out, but we could have stayed if we wanted to. It was an amazing trip. Like I loved it. I still love Puerto Rico. I'll still go back. The first time I went was like post Hurricane Maria, so I saw the effects of that. And then now the second time I went was post COVID or during COVID, so I see the effects of that. So I just really want to go. The next time I go, I want it to be like when the country is up and flourishing and like lit, you know what I mean? So yeah, next up is a tour of our hotel. Just a quick little tour, and then we'll be back. Okay. Beautiful resort, as you can see. Amazing. The hospitality was great there. Everything was great there. I would definitely recommend La Concha Resort if you go to Puerto Rico, for sure. All right, so boom. So now we on the way back to the ghetto, right? America. So now we had a great time, blah blah blah. We ready to go home. As amazing as it was, you know, you're just always ready to go home. You know what I mean? So now, remember, we had to do a flight from Ohio to Florida, and now we have to do a flight from Florida to Ohio. So for the flight from Florida to Ohio, we did Spirit. Bro, I've never flown Spirit before. Deontay was like, you know, I've flown before, like a quick trip to Miami. They're cheap, they're okay, like whatever. Cool. And the $50 was with the bag, like with my carry-on, because you know on Spirit you gotta pay for everything, bro. So I've never flown Spirit before, so I heard the stories. So I was like, I don't know, but he was like, nah, let's just do it, blah blah blah. Bet. So now we on the Jetblue flight. Let's say the Jetblue flight came in at 5 and our Spirit flight was at 7, right? Perfect timing. Like I worked that shit out so perfect. So now we on the flight. Now we get back to Florida. It's pouring rain. I'm telling you, America is ghetto. Every time I come back to this shit, it's raining. Like after a good trip. So now we're on the flight. It's pouring rain. So now we're on the what's that? Tarmac, whatever. We outside in the plane. Stuck. They're not pulling up to the gate, so they're like, oh, we have to wait, blah blah blah. So we in that bitch for like 45 minutes just waiting, and I'm like, bro, at this rate, like it's turning 6 o'clock. Like I'm like, we got a flight to catch. Like I said to Deontay, I said, check what time the Spirit flight is. Like check one more time, like because he's the one, like it was booked on his email, like he's the one who booked it. So I'm like, just check again, like what time the Spirit flight is. He looked at that shit said 5 o'clock. The flight was supposed to be at 7. Spirit flight was leaving at the time that our JetBlue flight was coming into Florida. I'm like, what? How is that possible? I said, am I bugging? Because I booked it like 2 hours apart. So how is it that it's coming in at the same time? It's going out at the same time that we're coming in. So he looks at the email. These people sent him an email like just on a random day, like a month after we booked, talking about, oh, we changed the flight or we moved it up, blah, 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 whatever. You can't do shit like that. Like nobody is looking, you know what I mean? Like checking your email constantly to see if y'all changed the flight. So especially a month later, like I'm thinking my shit is secure. And usually we'll take some blame for this, but because usually like I'll double check like what time my flight is like before, but we just knew, you know what I mean? Like we had time to check it when we got to the airport. So I called Spirit and I'm on the plane on the phone with Spirit and get customer service, and I'm like, yeah, like, you know, because I saw that all the flights were grounded, so I'm like, you know, is our flight still here, like whatever? And the lady's like, oh, she can't see it because technically like it should have left or whatever, some bullshit. And then I was like, well, what can y'all do, because this is an inconvenience to us because you guys changed the flight. I was like, there's no way I would have booked a flight the time that my other flight is coming. You guys moved the reservation up 2 hours. That's not my problem. Like my flight was already booked, so what can y'all do? Like, bro, and I'm being respectful, but I'm being stern, you know what I mean? So she's like, oh, there's nothing that we could do. I said, what do you mean? And at this point I'm trying to keep my voice down because I'm on the plane, and like it's just like I don't want everybody to hear me getting mad. So I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean there's nothing you can do? So I'm like, well, can you send me my money back? And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh, now y'all wildin'. Like, you telling me that I can't get a flight and I can't get my money back for some shit that I didn't take? Oh, because the flight already left, you missed the flight. I said I didn't miss the flight. Y'all moved the flight up. Like, that's a total difference there. So, whatever. So now we off the plane, we run, because we're literally looking at the gate that the flight is supposed to be. So we run to the gate, whatever, the flight done got left way already. So now we're like, bro, we just want to get home. Like, nobody's trying to be out here in these Florida streets the way niggas be wild, the way people be wilding out here, like with Corona. So we start looking up, like I'm on the phone, I hang up with her, I call back, got somebody else, and like me and him are like trying to like figure out, like, is there a flight going to Ohio from any Florida airport, like from Miami or Fort Lauderdale, anywhere with y'all, so I could just take the flight, y'all could just put the credit on the flight, whatever it is. And he's just like on some like, oh, if you change terminals then you have to buy a whole new flight, blah blah. I said, no, I don't have to buy a whole new flight, y'all just gotta give me the credit. Like, y'all just have to put me on the flight. Like, I'm not buying nothing else. Nobody told y'all to move that shit up 2 hours. So whatever, lo and behold, the next flight that they had out was 3 days later. I even asked him, I was like, is there a flight from New York? Like, is there a flight from Chicago? Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, where could a cheap flight be from? Like, and he's just like, no, like, there's no flights coming from anywhere. Like, there's just no flights. The next flight you could get on is 2 or 3 days out. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So then like I'm like going on Google Flights and Skip Lag, and I'll tell y'all all about those sites another time. But I'm going on these like little sites trying to find a flight that's not gonna be like $600 because you know, same day booking. So we finally find one from American Airlines that is from Miami, and it's like in 2 hours or something. I think it was like an hour and a half from, no, it was 2 hours. So it was a little over 2 hours from Miami. So then we're like, we gotta buy this shit now, we gotta leave. I think it was like $200. So we're like, all right, that's not too bad. So we're like, all right, we gotta leave now. Like, let's call an Uber, let's go. I asked the Spirit guy, he was like, he'll send me my money. So I'm like, all right, bet, cool. So I'm like, all right, technically the flight is $150. So we take an Uber to Miami, and so while we're trying to buy the ticket, they won't let us buy the ticket because apparently you can't buy a ticket if it's in a 2 hour window of when the flight is. You can't buy it online, you have to buy it at the airport. So I called American Airlines and they confirmed that, whatever, and they were like, all right, we have the reservation, you just have to come buy it, whatever. So we get there, we're on the line. Now it's like an hour to the flight, bro. Like, and I'm just like, there's a line, and I try to go to priority, and they're like, no, you have to go over there, and I'm just like, ah! And then we're on the line, and we hear somebody shout Deontay's name, like, Deontay, and we look around, and it's our Uber driver with his wallet, with all his ID, his cards, everything. And he was like, you left it in here. Like, I left and came back, and I had to come back and give it to you because we were telling him like our scenario, whatever. And I thought that was so nice. So shout out to that Uber driver because he's a lifesaver, bro. So yeah, so then boom, 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 tutus. We got on the flight. We rushed. Like, I was like, my chest was like hurting, okay, because I was running. But we made it back. The trip was beautiful, and we had a great time. The ending was a little shaky. I won't chance my life with Spirit again. Like, I just won't do that. So yeah, so that was our Puerto Rico vacation. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for tuning in. And if you want to see more videos like this, more cooking videos, more styling videos, I do it all, then subscribe to my channel and like this video and comment and all of that. Okay? All right. See you guys next time. Bye.